All right, I'm Pat. I think I've met almost everybody here. I'm the director of the NGTI, so I work with Hannah and Alex and Roscoe, who's on vacation. We only got about 16 emails from Roscoe today. He's on vacation. But that's a big improvement because he usually comes in, even though he's on vacation. But we didn't let him come in. A lot of you may know Roscoe. So a little bit about the NGTI. We have 4 pillars. We're part of Niagara University, first of all. We have 4 pillars. One of them is workforce development. One of them is technology. In the workforce, we run 3 different programs in non-COVID times, so we'll get back to normal this year. One's for front desk clerks, one for chronically unemployed people, and the other is Disney. We bring Disney to town every year at the conference center for the Disney Institute. Technology, we've installed Wi-Fi downtown, so tourists would come to Niagara Falls and turn their phones off because they didn't want to use international roaming charges. We saw that as a gap, so we put Wi-Fi in downtown so the tourists could use their phones. Now we have a research pillar, and I was just talking to Alex about in November we unveiled a study that we did with 6 NU faculty members to talk about how to use tourism as an economic development driver to revitalize the city of Niagara Falls. And we unveiled that here, and similar to tonight, we had 4 speakers, and every time I wanted to start the program, one of the 4 speakers was wandering around. You guys weren't as bad as those 4, but. And then the last but not least is entrepreneurship. And really this building is all about entrepreneurship. It's a co-working incubator. So we have people that want to start businesses, can be in this space 24/7, 365. They can't live here, but they can be here all the time. It's $100 a month. If you know anybody that wants to start a business, we'd like to see them in this space. If they cannot afford $100 a month, we'll give them 3 months free. And after 3 months, we can evaluate and see how they're coming along. And if they're doing fine, we can pay the rent, then they can stay but pay $100 a month. If they're not doing fine and they're goofing around, they can stay, but they have to pay $100 a month. If it looks like they have a promising idea and future, we'll give them enough more time. We just want people to start businesses in Niagara Falls. Now, one of the interesting things, or ways that we help people start entrepreneurs, is we have guides, what we call guides. And it's not a coincidence that half of our guides are females. So I'm really happy to have this. Dolly is one of those guides. So really happy to have this event tonight talking about female entrepreneurship, because obviously we think that's a really important part of the future of Niagara Falls, which is why we have half our guys are females. And I'm happy and thankful to the panel we have and to Alex for moderating. So it's up to you now, Alex. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Alexandra. So tonight's going to be the first night of our new series. It's titled Girl Boss, and we're going to be highlighting female entrepreneurs in the Niagara Falls area and the Western New York area, because we actually have a lot more female entrepreneurs than you would think. So I'm going to introduce you to the woman making up our panel tonight. So we have Tabitha Bernard, and Tabitha is the partner of Caribbean Flava Inc. And then we have Stephanie Kennedy. So Stephanie is the owner and founder of Reach Digital Media Solutions. And then we also have Nazreen Akar. Nazreen is the president of Aero Transportation and NAS 716. So now we'll just jump into some questions. And ladies, feel free to go in whatever order you would like. But I'm going to start out by asking you to just describe your background.
Okay. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be on this panel with these 2 lovely women. And also very proud to be a female entrepreneur. I started my business about 5 years ago. I am a digital marketing specialist, social media empowerment consultant, and social media manager. So that's what I do for a living, and how I got started in that. I went to school for strategic communication and digital media, and I found that there really wasn't a job that I really, really loved in the market at the time, so I just created my own. And here I am, almost 5 years later.
Hi, I'm Tabitha. My background is actually in social work. So I have a master's in social work that I received from the University of Buffalo. I started in the restaurant/food truck business back in 2018. I'm a foodie, so I enjoy food. And me and my husband found a niche that was untapped in regards to Jamaican cuisine in Niagara Falls. So after so many gatherings and family events where they asked my husband to bring just about everything, we figured it might be a need, not a need, but a niche for us to possibly branch into Jamaican cuisine. And so here I am today.
Hi, my name is Nasreen. So a little bit about myself. I have 3 beautiful boys and my wonderful husband, very supportive husband. And I was born in Pakistan because I feel like that's very important for people to know. I came at the age of 7. So when I grew up, we moved to Brooklyn and moved to Niagara Falls and went to local schools, went to Niagara University for my bachelor's and my master's. So, and I was the first woman in my family to graduate from high school and, even college. So for me, coming to this country, I always knew I had higher standards for myself, and I had to keep pushing myself. So as for the business, I started my beauty business because I didn't want to put my three kids in daycare. And we were in Colorado, and I was like, daycare is expensive, so why put your children in something? And I wanted to spend time with them. I know kids grow fast, so I started the beauty business, and then within a year, I was in a market where no one knew what eyebrow threading was, and by the time I left after a year, I had over 150 clients. And I felt God prepared me to come back to New York, to be back with our family here and in Toronto, and we took over the transportation business. Aero Transportation is the medical transportation business, and then which led to NAS 716, which is our newest ventures. It's a co-working space, and we have various businesses under one building. So, thank you.
So diving a little deeper into your guys' backgrounds, what was your motivation to get started? Like, how did you find your why?
I'm just making sure. So when I started my business, I had been working with a company for a few months, and I was working full-time, but it wasn't really full-time because there wasn't as much for me to do as there could have been for a full-time position. So I went and I talked to my employer at the time, and I suggested that I either switch into a different role, or I wasn't sure if this was exactly for me. So what really pushed me was her. Her name is Joyce DeLong. She owns Lever Printing in Cheektowaga, and she really encouraged me to become a consultant because she loved what I did, but it just wasn't working in the space that we were doing it. And she said, well, if this isn't working, how about, I help you start your own consulting business and I'll be your first client. And being in school and also having a father who's in marketing, I got to really watch him throughout the years do what he did. He had started his own business. So my why was basically myself and like giving myself a chance to try something new that I felt confident in doing because of what I had been doing before. But I didn't think it would grow to this point. What actually pushed me to really go all in with this was a couple of family members passing away, which at the time, before that happened, my mother had brain cancer. And had I been working a full-time job, I wouldn't have been able to spend as much time with her, take take care of her or be a primary caregiver for her. So that became my why over the years. Back in 2018 that started. So my why really became that freedom of being able to choose when I could work. When I was going through the grief process after losing her, that was a whole other reason, because had I worked with a full-time employer, no one would have been able to keep up with all of, those grief moments when I was, bawling my eyes out or having a really hard day and just really missing my mom. And I am so thankful for my business every single day, and I'm trying to put, my heart and soul into it even more so now because of how much it's given me and the power that it's given me back.
My why is my husband. Actually, he was the one that kind of initiated the idea in regards to starting off as a food truck. Well, let me backtrack. I would say it was my mother. She was the one that presented us the idea. She said, instead of going into a brick and mortar business, why don't you try a food truck? Food trucks are becoming very popular. You had the ability to be mobile. You can reach different people rather than just being a brick and mortar. And so we said, you know what? That makes sense. And so it made sense for my husband. For me, I was still on the fence. I'll be honest. I was working with the Niagara Falls Housing Authority. I was very comfortable. The idea of a business was just like, it just seemed like work. I'm being transparent. It just seemed like work to me. And I was in my comfort space. But my husband was saying, more so, let's look at the bigger picture in regards to our family, being able to set our family up, being able, like Stephanie said, to have a little more flexibility versus having a 9-to-5 job. And also, far as thinking down the road, rather than it just being a food truck, that's maybe expanding to a restaurant expanding to franchising. So you have to look at the bigger picture. And so when I brought into the vision, I said, you know what? Okay, let me go ahead. Well, let's just see what we have to do to make this thing work. So more so, I would say it was the push, the aggressive push of my husband, because I think if it was just me, I wouldn't be here today talking to you guys. I would probably still be at my 9-to-5 job if it wasn't for his push.
My push was my family. From a young age, when I was like 16, 17, I would buy scarves and I would go sell them to my friends. My friends would be like, I love what you're wearing. And when I was like 19, I was buying bulk stuff and like selling to my friends. So I knew I loved the business concept and it was kind of like came natural to me. But my why was my children. The reason I started the esthetician business was for my children, so my husband would work during the day and then I would work, I would go to school in the evening, so he would take care of the children. And then I was able to work at home from I had an office, like a salon downstairs in my house, and I was able to do that. So, yeah.
So, what challenges have been presented to you in your time as an entrepreneur, and how did you overcome these challenges?
Oh, that is a heavy question. Well, of course, we went through the beautiful pandemic that we endured. But I think the biggest challenge for me was making sure that everyone was happy, but I was also charging what I was worth. That was the biggest challenge I had to overcome with my business, and I feel like a lot of people struggle with that, especially women who own businesses, because we're always told like, oh yeah, like maybe you're not, like we're not like told from the beginning you can do whatever you want to do. It's like, okay, well maybe you can do this, and I digress. But from a bigger standpoint, just really knowing like how much to put out there to prove the worth that I had, but also just like believing in myself. So that self-doubt I really had to overcome as well.
Are we just gonna keep going in order?
Yeah, I think
Let's just keep going down the line. I think, as Stephanie said, a challenge for us, of course, with a challenge for many businesses was the pandemic. I think the pandemic, we actually were seasonal at the time that the pandemic came in, so we we basically came in April of 2020 in the height of everything. And so we had to reassess how we did everything as far as, for sanitizing, how we're going to do delivery, navigate more towards the delivery route because you didn't have many people wanting to come in. So that was definitely a struggle. And some challenges I'm going through now is inflation, the price of food. As everybody knows, you go to the grocery store, every week it may be a different price that you're paying, right? So right now we're navigating that in regards to try to balance our prices and what we're charging. And like you said, not to undercharge. Because, some people are like, well, why is this price? And it's like, did you not look in the store and see how much oxtail is? You make it at home, you pay about this price, but we're making it for you, plus the expense of making it for you. So you have to understand that it's going to be more cost. It's going to be a little bit a rise in price, not significant, but we have to raise the prices. So charging, like you said, your worth. In essence.
Some of my challenges as a female for our transportation business. So in our between my husband and I, we run the business, and I was the one who would go buy the cars. And I remember at one time I had to buy 3 vehicles at one time, and once they were finalizing the deal, they were like, "Oh, it's going to be this much," and the interest rate was like 9%. And I always look up to my older brothers, so I'm able, like, having that support system is awesome to be able to have that. I can't say enough, But so I called my brother. I step out of the office, and I call my brother. I'm like, why is this guy doing this? Why is he charging me? He thought I'm just a female. I don't really know anything, And so I walked back in. My brother was like, make sure you tell him your credit's good. Otherwise, you can just walk out of the deal. It's their loss. I went back in. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do this deal. And then he's like, oh, wait a minute. I'm like, my credit's really good. I don't know why you're doing this to me, right? So I walked back in. He's like, okay, let me just change that. And I was like, how instantly he was able to change that. And, from that point, and that was in the beginning stages of me with the transportation, because the transportation business is our bread and butter. I mean, the beauty is more of a passion, and then when I go to mechanics, the one guy was like, oh, we can't do your inspection because you need brakes. I'm like, I just bought this car. Why do you need that? So I took it to another mechanic. So having those different just knowing as a woman you have different choices. Just because one says no, go do your research and make sure you do your own research. Don't let other people tell you what to do. Make those decisions for you.
Absolutely. That just happened to my friend when she was leasing a car as well. Mm-hmm. And then her boyfriend went in and he gave him a lower price, and then she went right back in and was like,
Oh my God, that's terrible.
So, how do you ladies keep focus on your business with also maintaining a social life, just errands, everything that goes on in life?
What is that? What's focus?
Thankfully, I'm not in the stage of my life yet when I have a family, so I'm able to balance it pretty well so far. But what I try to focus on most is just making myself have time for rest, so I can recharge and really give not only my clients the best of myself, but myself the best of myself, my friends, my family, the rest of my support system, so I can be. So I try to fill my cup before I start pouring from it. So that was one thing I learned early on from somebody. Someone had noticed that I was a little bit burnt out, which happens. And she said you need to fill your cup before you start pouring. So I've adamantly tried to do that from then on out, because I was getting burnt out every 6 months, and that wasn't really going to help me excel in my business. It was only going to put me in either a pause, or it was going to set me back. So just prioritizing just that rest has been a huge difference.
Go ahead.
Okay. For myself, because I've been in the business for a while, as you age as well, you realize what's important to you. So before it was, children, and then as I'm getting older, I'm like, well, it's changing because I have God, and then it's family, and then work. So for me, because I have 3 children, teenager, a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and they're boys, and so for me, I cut off my work off after 4, and sometimes when someone needs something late once a week, maybe I can, accommodate that. And then try to be home with them after school. And then, and weekends I do more religious stuff with the kids, sports, spend time with the family. So just knowing my limits, and then being able to say no to people as well, because before it was more like, even with our transportation business, we would be, when we were trying to get started, it was 24 hours. We would have the phone next to our nightstand, and we would wake up, and my husband would go pick up people, just because we thought we needed to do that to accommodate people. We're like, oh my God, they're going to be stuck out there, and no one's going to go get them. But then again, we weren't getting the rest. So just eventually in your business, you realize, okay, this is where, and COVID made a lot of people realize. My mother was ill last year, and made me realize how fast cancer, does to people, and how fast people can just go. That time we're like, okay, we're gonna cut down our hours. We're gonna be just 9 to up till 5 o'clock, and that's it. Because it was a good balance for my drivers. It was a good balance for us. So, and then treating people like a human being too, like your employees as a human being as well. We realized we were burnt out. I'm like, well, they're burnt out too. So just being kind, those things that we, loving on your friends, people around you, I think that makes a big difference.
I think it's so funny because I remember when you were going 24/7. I'm like, how the heck is she doing this?
Yeah, we used to talk. Yeah.
Oh, we would both be talking like, oh, we are exhausted. But like these 2 ladies are saying, like, trying to balance and make time. I think for me, to take care of yourself, your own health. So I take the time out, like, to go and get massages, do spa dates, meditation. I just started to get more into meditation because I find my mind continues to always go. So at night I'm thinking of, okay, I got to do this tomorrow, I got to do this and make sure this is in order. So meditation has helped me to turn off and just, far as be at a calm and be at a peace for at least an hour or so. And so that has helped me, but definitely having that balance and knowing, far as when to integrate that time for self. And I know, like, right now is our busy season with the restaurant as well as the food truck. So I know after this time period towards September and October, when it dies down, I'll be taking a vacation. And I make sure I take a vacation because I need to recharge and get ready for the next season of things. But I make sure to integrate that time, because if not, like you said, you burn out. And you don't have anything to give to anyone else. And you're grumpy and you're miserable. And nobody wants to be around a person like that.
So as entrepreneurs, you're starting from the ground up. So what are you most proud of in what you've done?
I am most proud that I overcame the notion that I was too young to start a business. I was 23 when I started my business, so I was I understood where I was at. I had just graduated from college, and a lot of people were like, and I thought that the reaction for a lot of people would be, oh, are you sure you can do this? Because I don't think you have a lot of experience doing this. But because of the nature of what I did as a social media coordinator, it was very well accepted, because I've been on Facebook since I was 13. So I had all of this experience already in addition to my schooling at St. Bonaventure. So it was way more accepted than I initially thought, and I was able to overcome that self-doubt because of all the great support I had from a couple of different groups that I was in.
I think I'm most proud at this point, and not to sound so cliche, but having the opportunity to talk to people in this type of space and having the ability to share my experiences and to give information to those that are looking to start their business, I think this makes me, it gives me fulfillment, because I have a lot of people that come up to me, especially a lot of females that come up to me and ask me, how do you get started? What permits you need? What licensing? I love taking out the time and sharing. Like, I feel like some people will hesitate on sharing because maybe they don't want competition, or they don't want, this person to come over and take, just in a way out of greed or whatnot. But I love to be able to give as much information to help the next person get started in their venture, and also to help them along the way to see them grow and be successful. I want everybody to win. It's not just me just winning. You know what I mean? So.
I totally agree with you. The fact that we're here, to me, being an immigrant, being, all these different things, obstacles I faced, and then to be at this point where I can inspire other women, nothing is impossible. And you can achieve anything, but you have to work hard at it. And if you remember that, and if you don't try, you'll never know, right? So that to me, I know my brother was saying, he was saying that mom would be so proud of me. Another thing is just our reputation in the community with our transportation business. People know that we will treat their loved ones like family. We won't leave them stranded, or our company motto is like, treat your clients as if they're your own parents. So if you treat them like that, you will have the best service, right? You will have the utmost respect for people in general. And then like we started our turkey giveaway. I'm very proud of that, because coming from a very poor background in Pakistan, third world country and stuff, people don't have food, and here we're able to do stuff like that. We're able to give in the community. We started with 10 turkeys, and we were inspired by your family. They used to do a turkey giveaway, and it feels good to be able to give within the community that I grew up in, the community that there's so many people that I look up to within the district, teachers that help me along the way, all those things. I'm just so humble, with everything.
So what have you ladies learned along the way, or anything you would particularly change or do different, or just things you've learned along the way?
The biggest lesson I learned is that don't underestimate the power of those around you, because you may meet somebody who will change your life. Don't underestimate if someone's in one position, or if they're in one phase of their life, just because they're not who exactly you're looking for to connect with. Making those connections can help you along the way, no matter who it is that you're connecting with. And I think that is the biggest lesson that I learned, just meeting different people, because some of the people I've met in passing have become huge mentors to me. They've become amazing colleagues. They have connected me with different people as well. So that's a big lesson. And the other lesson I have learned is just believing in the power of my own dreams, and believing in the power of other dreams as well, because if I didn't believe in what I was marketing for my clients and what their dreams were, then I wouldn't be a very good social media coordinator, would I? So I definitely, and that's the best part about what we're doing as entrepreneurs, is lifting each other up. And I think that is something that is not necessarily new on the scene, but it's definitely more practice than it used to be. Just instead of competition, it's collaboration.
I think a big takeaway I've gotten through this whole process is, always ask questions. Different events like this, or you run into somebody that may be in the same field and doing the same thing that you're doing, don't be afraid to ask questions. I think I ask a lot of questions I may know, but I may get a different answer that may tweak what I was thinking, or as far as it may change my whole perception of what I thought I knew. And so I ask a lot of questions. And my husband, he always gets on me because he's like, you ask a lot of questions, but you always get the answers. And I said, I do because I want to know. And so if somebody else is doing it on another scale, I want to know what they're doing so I can go to that next level too. So if I don't ask the questions, I won't know. And so I always say it's always the opportunity to learn. Don't be afraid to ask the highest CEO to the lowest person. Ask questions, get the information, and utilize it. So that's my biggest takeaway. Make sure you ask, and if you don't know, find out the answer. Go seek the answer, shall I say.
My advice for other females, I look at life as if we're all, at the same level. So for me, everyone around us, we're all struggling. We're all going through this thing called life. And when you look at life like that, I'm not afraid to do anything anymore. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm not afraid to, you just learn from your experiences. What's the worst? You're going to make a mistake and then learn from your experiences, right? Working hard, takes you a long way. It's not easy to build a business. Yes, you have all the freedom, but you're almost working 24/7 because you work extra hard because it's your own baby, right? The other thing is having a great support system. For myself, I have, my sister-in-law here, my niece, and then my friends here to be here for me, So having that great support system is very, very, very good to have, And then just compassion towards people. I think with what I do, even with the beauty industry, and then with our medical transportation, and even with our new venture, like at NAS 716, like I want to help other people, get their businesses started, and find them the resources that we can, in the community, So.
And then going off of what you said, Naz, to Stephanie and Tabitha, do you ladies have any other tips or advice you would like to give female entrepreneurs? Is there any females aspiring to start their own business?
You want to go first?
Sure. Don't let outside factors influence your decision. And I say that to say what's going on in the world. You hear it's a recession now. You hear, as far as the stock market is going. So all these factors come against your dream. So it's like, maybe this is not the time to start it because I don't know if anybody's going to patronize me because those people have money to spend on this and that. Or you may have friends and family members telling you this is not the right time to start. Don't do it, girl. Just stick to your 9 to 5. If it's a good job, don't let that go until you know it's never the right time to start a business, regardless if you're in a recession, if you're in a height where it's times are good. It's never the best time to start a business. But go forth and do it. Don't let the outside factors influence your decision from going forth and pursuing your passion and pursuing your dreams. So that's one thing I can definitely say, because I know with this endeavor, me and my husband and now my brother-in-law, a lot of people said this is not going to work. A lot of Jamaican restaurants in Niagara Falls never succeed. The food truck business is going to be a little bit too hard. And so if we would have listened to all of those different voices, we would not have moved forward at all. So move forward and go and tune out the negativity. That's what I can definitely say.
I'm going to piggyback off of you because something somebody told me one time. They said if you don't go all in on your dreams, it's not going to come back to you through, what you want. So going all in, like at one point I remember, because I was, just starting out and everything, I had 5 jobs at one point. And I'm like, what am I doing? I could take all this energy I'm putting into these other things that I have this like false security about, and I could put all that energy into my business. And that's what I did 2 years ago. It was the best decision I ever made. And thankfully I did have the support to be able to move forward with it, but just going all in and just completely believing in what you are capable of, because you are worthy of having a business. You are capable of having a business. And also don't be afraid to fail, because failure is the mother of all success. You cannot learn from your mistakes if you do not fail. And it just makes you better in the end.
Lastly, I guess my husband always, sometimes I feel like I'm very critical of certain things, or our service and stuff. And luckily, I have my husband to remind me, and he says, you're your own competition. So just focus on what we're doing. Don't worry about what other people are doing. So be the best you can be at your own business. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Just put the hard work in, which I already do, but you're your own competition. So
Alexandra, can I pose a question?
Sure.
If possible. I was talking to Naz beforehand, and I was saying to ask you guys, Stephanie and Nazim, what are some challenges, or what are some things that you need to work on yourself? Because we always talk, we're giving all this information about support and, for our zip, but it's also things that we are still continuing to get over, challenges, and so certain things as women ourselves that we continue to work on. And I'll start it out just because I'm asking like a question. I don't know what that's. I was sharing with Naz beforehand. I was like, some things that I know, one particular thing to work on is not being afraid to promote yourself and promote your business to others. Like even coming here tonight, I think I posted maybe a couple hours before the flyer for this event, because I'm like, you try to be, not saying humble, but it's like, oh, here it goes, guys, come. But it's more so not being afraid to let people know what you're doing. Yes, I'm doing this. This is something my business is doing. This is something I'm doing. And so I think that's one challenge that I am continuing to work on, because sometimes self-promotion, you don't want to promote yourself. Sometimes even your business, you don't want to tell people, I do this. You got to be more confident. And I think that's one thing that I'm continuing to work on myself. So that's my thing. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Okay. One thing I'm still very trying to get through my head is that I am worthy of moving forward. I'm worthy of having the stability to move forward, because my life was so chaotic for so long that I didn't feel like I could, but now I feel like I'm in this space to be able to do that. I've been in business for 5 years. I'm not an LLC yet. And that is a big no-no in my eyes to myself. And I'm like, ugh. When I got my taxes back, I was not happy.
Boy.
Yeah. And anyone who's a business owner knows exactly what I'm talking about. But it's just being like, just knowing that you are worthy to move forward and be successful, and you don't have to limit yourself because you're scared, because half the time when you're an entrepreneur, you're just like screaming on the inside half the time because it's scary. It's scary. You have to take a lot of very scary steps that aren't always guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed in business, and whether that's solidifying a contract or waiting to hear back from somebody about a possible position or a possible job. Nothing is guaranteed, but as long as you just trust the process and move along, things that are meant to be in your space will come to you.
What was the question? I'm just kidding.
You know the question.
I think that I did a show yesterday for the community, and I'm lucky to have Vicky here, and she goes, one thing you didn't do was talk about who you are, and it's really hard to do that. I think we're so used to just being a nurturer as a mother, and being a wife and doing all those things, and you forget who you are sometimes. And I think if we don't do it, I guess who's going to do that, right? Exactly. So I think maybe something we can start doing is start saying, hey, you're doing a great job. One of the things I guess I do is a self-analysis. We pray, as a Muslim, we pray 5 times a day, and meditation and stuff. So one thing I'm always reminded is how to become a better person all the time. I do that all the time. What can I learn from my experiences on a daily basis? So I do it that way, but then I guess I don't really talk about myself that much. It's hard. I think it's really hard for us to do that. It's not a human. I don't know.
people ask me who I am, and I'm like, oh, I'm a business owner. I'm this and that. I'm like, my favorite color is blue. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
It's hard
It's
to
definitely
do.
challenging. It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah. And I think as women too, especially in the business world, like we need to stop being afraid to be the most successful in the room or the most powerful in the room. Because I think a lot of the time people walk in the room and if there's a male figure as a businessman, everyone kind of expects him to be the most powerful one, the most, like the smartest person in the room. And I even know this with myself. Sometimes I'll have comments in my head and I'm like, oh, say it. And I just like, I don't say anything, but in my head I'm like, you should have said that. Like, you had a strong, valid point. So I think we just have to learn how to push ourselves to be more confident in that aspect. Because I know we're all confident in our own head.
Yeah.
We just know it in our head. And sometimes that's enough for me because in my head I'm like, like I know it. Right? But on the outside I'm like, no, you just need to start saying it, you know?
Yeah.
But so now, pass it on to the audience. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Okay, I have a comment. I just want to say you ladies are awesome. I am very proud of you. And I would like to know how many years have each of you been in business? You may have said it, but I kind of missed it. So for you,
Almost 5 years.
It could be 4 years
4,
in July, yes.
11.
11. Okay, well you are all great. I've been in that same position that you're in, and you have some great points. And we all feel the exact same way. When you say the questions, I'm a business mentor also, so I tell people ask questions. If you were afraid to ask that question, believe me, everybody in the room had that same question.
Exactly.
No one was just able to say it. So keep doing what you're doing and talk about yourselves. Don't feel bad. You have a business, you're successful, you're a woman, and that is something that we kind of find. We don't want to seem all bragging. Don't just,
Yeah.
but you're doing it, so do it. Everybody here. That's advertising, that's marketing. Just keep it going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
What she said. Very inspiring, and I really appreciate that you're here and sharing this. Like, it's all of your stories. I feel like I'm learning, and yeah, I love hearing what you're willing to share. It's very helpful, very inspiring.
Thank you, Anne,
Thank
for
you so
coming.
much.
Thank you, thank you.
Can I pose a little question?
Go right ahead. This is your guys' show.
Tell me one hidden talent that both of you have. One hidden talent. Yes. Oh, sorry. I thought it was her.
Oh.
So we have to talk about ourselves now. That's why I posed the question.
I mean, I do eyebrow threading.
That ain't a hidden talent.
Vicky, my friend Vicky said cooking.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Love to cook for you guys.
Oh.
Cooking. When I went to Colorado, we didn't have any family, and I felt, I'm like, where are we, right? So our food is Pakistani food. It's similar to Indian food, and so I would make rice. Oh, you had
Oh,
cooking
yeah,
too.
veggie
Right.
cooking.
Whoever comes to our house, from a young age, hospitality is a big thing in our home, and I would see my mom always. It's a thing, you know, we always do, and make sure we feed people before they leave. So I would make rice and then just give it to my neighbors so I can make friends. Like, it wasn't because I was trying to desperately make friends, but it's just something you share food, you know. So, and that's how I made friends when I was in Colorado. But cooking is something I enjoy
Yeah.
when I have time.
You are a good cook. And like she's not lying. She always tries to feed you. Like, okay, Naz, I just stopped by for a minute. I don't need a whole meal. But I'll take it. I think a hidden talent, I can't sing, which I wish. Because I said, if I could sing, I would just be singing all the time. But I whistle really well. I can whistle along to any tune. Hit the high notes, the low notes. I'm a good whistler.
My hidden talent is that I can sing.
Oh,
I'm not going to sing right now. Nobody.
Yes,
knows.
you can.
absolutely not.
You told us your hidden talent so you could sing.
But it's one thing like a lot of people don't know about me now because I put it to the side because there's not like a lot of outlets for it. I feel like as an adult because I was heavily involved in chorus in school, in like high school, musicals in high school, and then I was the president of an a cappella group in college. But after that, I didn't really have an outlet for it. So I feel like there's not. I mean, if anyone has any information, an outlet, I miss it a
There's a
ton.
local group called the Coraliers.
Ooh,
There
I
you
could
go.
look
They
into
do,
that.
yeah, they do concerts.
That's fun.
They probably showcase you as a soloist.
That'd be super cool.
We could do that in Trek too.
Have your own little show here.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Any more questions? Any more to each other?
Ask a question.
Can each of you talk about one person in your lives that inspired you the most, like somebody who you really admire? It could be like past, present, future, a teacher from your younger years or something. Could be a made-up person. I don't know, but sometimes we look at the qualities of someone we admire and kind of find ourselves constantly going back to their character and seeing how can I change to kind of copy what that person is doing. So I just wanted to kind of hear that from you all.
She knows it's my mother, so I'm gonna get too emotional.
I think for me, one of my inspirations is my grandmother. She's been gone for some time now, but just seeing, she wasn't in business. It was just as far as her character that I admired the most. She was just a very humble and giving person, very welcoming, had a sweet spirit where when you would come into her home, it felt like a warm hug, regardless if it was from her, but it just gave you comfort. And that's one thing like Nazarene would say, treat people, as far as treat people with respect, treat people good. And I think that's what she did. And that characteristic has stuck with me in how I deal with my employees, how I deal with people on a daily basis, regardless if I'm dealing with a homeless man to, like you said, to a CEO, treating people with respect. Because you never know how this person, how your kindness, how you treat them can impact them going forward.
I would have to say, honestly, both of my parents, they were together, they were so impactful to my life in so many different ways. My mom was such a light. So, after she passed, I definitely wanted to emulate that even more. So I tried to approach things with love, with grace, compassion. And then on the other side, my dad, he has told me from a very young age that I could do anything I wanted to as long as I put focus into it. So he never made me feel like I was inferior because I was a woman. He never made me feel like I couldn't do anything. And that really translated into adulthood because that's still a mantra that I still go through in my head. I can do whatever I set my mind to, and thus far it's been paying off. So I'm happy for that. But just also just treating people well and being the type of person who is open to conversation, being just open-minded, being someone that people can confide in and trust. So I love my parents for that. I love that they raised me the way they did. I didn't always agree with curfew, but at the same time, maybe I need to be reined in a little bit.
I have a question. Ladies, it's been fabulous listening to you all, and I do want to say thank you for just being open and transparent with us. So what would you say is a characteristic defect to you as a business lady?
Character defect. I'd say my self-doubt.
Okay.
Sometimes I don't always believe in everything that I'm doing, which is horrible. But it just comes down to it's not anyone's outside opinion. I had someone the other day say, I quoted them and they're like, that's not enough for what you do. And so I took a step back. I was like, okay, I will reevaluate and get back to you. But just that's what I was talking about earlier with that self-worth is a huge part of it, because if you don't believe in what you're doing, if you don't believe in the power of what you're doing, you're not going to get to that next step, because you are basically self-sabotaging, which I unfortunately I've dealt with for a lot of my life. But I know now, and I've worked through those things, and I'm still working through those things, but just that, I would say that's my worst character trait.
Thank you.
I guess I'm always looking to help others all the time, and I feel like my husband has to remind me, because he's my biggest sports system, I guess. But he always has to remind me, focus on what you have to get done before you help others. So, which, I guess that's it. Without going into too much detail, but.
I think I'm in the same boat as her. Like, I'm a very giving person, so sometimes I have to draw boundaries because people can abuse that. And so, you want to help and you want to give to others, but then you have, like you said, like I was saying, people abuse it and misuse it.
Yeah.
And so I had to start, as far as, okay, I can't do that, but I can do this. But, just to make sure I balance and have boundaries to not allow that to be misused.
Because listening to you all, being an executive director, I found that if you don't hold people accountable, but then we're not helping them when we don't hold them accountable.
Correct.
And as friends who know Nas, that would be the thing. I'm like, not your stop. Let them go. Not giving them chances, because when you hold them accountable, it makes a person take a look at themselves. That's the way I see it as an executive director. I don't help you grow professionally if I don't hold you accountable.
This is true.
Exactly.
Very true. Very true.
That's true, and that's a really tough spot, because entrepreneurs, we are giving people.
Yeah.
We always give, we're always helping.
We're trying to solve a problem.
And everyone around you, they think because you have a business that you got it all together, because you have a business. So you don't have nothing to do but talk to them all during the day, or answer their questions, or help them all during the day, as if you were working a 9 to 5. You couldn't do that. So I don't know if anybody runs into that problem of giving and cause, and people just want stuff.
Yeah,
For me, besides my businesses, I also do volunteer work within our mosque, and there's 60 students that I'm a vice principal for. So I'm like planning their field trips and making sure their schools are done. And so along with work and kids, and I have that as well. And that's when I have to draw the line. Okay, I'm going to only dedicate maybe 20 minutes to this, and then make sure I do only 20 minutes, because my kids are suffering. You don't want your children to suffer either, while you're helping others. So you have to prioritize what's important in your life.
For sure.
And do you find it challenging to prioritize what you kind of give away versus what you charge for? Because family and friends, I'm a minister of the gospel ordained, and they will pull on that gift all the time that you freely give and feel like you have to because of my spirituality, but it's like, I get paid to do this over here. And family want it for free too. So it's like, when do you, how do you, I'm just throwing it out to you. I don't have to answer, just something to think about, because you gotta have those boundaries.
Yeah, it's definitely a big boundary thing, because when, at least in consulting, when I started my business, I was charging minimal for what I was doing because I was still trying to get experience. Now that I'm at this point, I still have a lot of clients that I've grandfathered in. So they understand that I've raised my prices, and they might get their prices raised a little bit, but I will never take them to that point. But sometimes I do shoot myself in the foot then, because I could drop them as a client and then bring on somebody at a new price. But then again, that goes into the building relationships aspect as well, because I find that building relationships for me at the very least is more of a priority than making it a problem and maybe putting them in a place where they can't afford the services that they've been getting for years. And I appreciate my clients so much. They've always been so supportive, even through all that I was going through. They were extremely supportive. I had one of my clients say, "Don't worry about it. I'll do my own social media." I'm like, "Girl, no." Like I will still continue. But it's just, you know, in that sense, it's not just for the business. Like I'm not there just for the money. I'm there to help. I need to do that for the people who have helped build me up throughout the years, have recommended me to other people, and that pays dividends on the long run. And you know, it's not chasing that instant gratification, it's chasing that longevity in a business.
I think for me, it's just, like I was saying, just, you know, as far as boundaries, like I have to tell my family, I have a business that I'm running, so if you want this service, you're going to have to pay the business service price. And of course, certain things, you have a different events and stuff that you do give to, but it's not you telling me what I'm going to do. If I choose to do so, I choose to do so. If not, you can pay the catering price, and we can definitely have it at the family event. But that's how I have to set things. Like you said in the beginning, you really try to get your name out there. So yeah, you kind of bend over sometimes and do extras to make sure that, you know, you can get your name, you can help family and so forth. But as you go along, you're like, okay, no, I have to have a business hat on and make sure I can keep my business going, not just to satisfy your need for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and then one other thing, just to make mention of, you feel like, and I always get this with small businesses, you see not just family members, but outside people that try to take advantage of. I always tell people, you wouldn't go into Popeyes or KFC and negotiate the price that's on the billboard, you know, on the menu. Don't come in here trying to do the same. You know what I mean? You get a lot of people that come in, and it's not a lot of people, I wouldn't say a lot of people, but you get people that try to do that. And it's like, no, you're not getting a discount. You have to pay the price. If you can't afford to pay the price, then you can't afford to pay the price. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of people try to take advantage of small businesses. I find in the restaurant business, you guys may find different experiences, but it's just like, you wouldn't go to the Colonel and ask him for $12 a meal when he's telling you it's $15.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You wouldn't do that.
I agree.
She had a question.
Yes, I would like to know what spark y'all desire. You know, you have to have a desire to drive each one of you.
Can you repeat that?
Like, what spark your desire to, you know, I can see fire in each, all three of you all. So what sparked their desire to make you want to proceed forward with your business?
Okay, well, first I would say, and I think I can speak for all of us when I say this, the hard work you put into in the first few years is a lot of, like, more or less blood, sweat, and tears. And you just, like, go over these different notions and everything.
Right. What I'm saying is, what gave you that desire to, you know, you got to have something to say, this is why I want to do this.
Yeah.
Like, what was your desire?
So I noticed that there was like a gap of understanding when it came to social media for business owners, whether business owners were, you know, in business for 30 years or they were just starting their business. A lot of generationally, there's a huge difference of understanding. Because like I said before, like I had Facebook when I was 13, but someone in the generation of my dad or my grandmother, they didn't have that growing up. So that understanding of how to utilize it efficiently and effectively for their business was my biggest drive, because I wanted to help. Because my dad was in media, because he was in marketing, he even approached me about it. He's like, what do you do on Twitter? Like, what is it? What is the point of it? But he was a media buyer for TV ads and radio ads. That was his forte. I know nothing about that, because I didn't grow up doing that. That's not part of the media that I grew up with. But he doesn't necessarily understand the digital side quite as well as I do. So being able to show up to a business that's been in business for years, and they're just starting off have their social media presence, I can then guide them to better do it in a way that is not only effective, but it's also efficient, so they don't feel overwhelmed about doing it. Because, I mean, raise your hands. How many people in here are overwhelmed by their social media presence? It's hard because there's so much content coming at us all at once, and it almost falls to the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to your marketing plan, because it takes so much time. But the methods that I use and what I've learned over the years, I've been able to cut down the time and make it more automated for people, and then I teach them that. In addition to also managing it for them. I don't want my clients to not know what I'm doing, and I want them to have their own, I want to give them their power back. Because I feel that a lot of agencies, when they work with people, they don't really necessarily give them the inside scoop of what's going on because they're just trying to retain them as a client. But that's not what I'm trying to do. I've worked with 75 different businesses because I let people go at their own pace. If they are already ready to go, then I let them go. I don't need them to stay with me forever. There's so many people, so many other people that then have the opportunity to find help and understand social media better. So that's what drives me. That's my desire. I just want to help.
I think my desire is my family. I have a 2-year-old and I have a soon-to-be 19-year-old. And I think just having the ability to pass down something if they choose to, as far as go into the restaurant business or the food truck business, but to have the option for them to, if they want to venture into business, or even having the capital to start their own business, me being able to give them the money to start up their own companies and so forth, and just to instill in them the work ethic. They see me and they're grinding, they see their father and they're grinding, their uncle. It's a family business, so just to see this and that, okay, if you want to go, not saying necessarily you have to do restaurant, but if you want to go and do your own business, you know what it takes to get there. So to have that opportunity to teach and to be able to possibly sow into them through this business is what gives me the desire to keep pushing when some days I don't feel like it.
Same thing, we started because of our children and for myself, having that flexibility to be there for my kids. I think if I worked for other people, I wouldn't have had this chance to raise my children, or so and then always keeping that in mind. And when we're doing this, we're saying we're doing this for our kids, and then we ask ourselves, are we really doing this for our kids, or is it for ourselves right now? But we hope that they're learning from our work ethic. Right now I have three different personalities, and they're all learning, and we take them with us everywhere. So each child has their own strengths, so they show it when we say, okay, my little one, Vicky knows, he sets up, when we do vendor shows at our place, he brings a little cart and then he'll sell snacks, so he's learning, parts of the business. I don't care how much money he makes.
You don't give any breaks either.
I was like, aunties have, they need to have it for free. He's like, it's for, I'm like, I'm the one who bought it for you. but just, and then the one time he was in a suit, like he came in a suit, so he's like trying to do it better the next time. So just, they see it, and whatever we do as parents too, your kids are mimicking that. So
Yeah.
For sure.
We all have bad days. On a bad day, do you have a mantra or a motto or a scripture that
Oh yeah.
go to?
This is something that a business coach told me years ago, and I've made it my absolute mantra, not only for me, but for my clients as well, because whether you like it or not, if you're a business owner, you have a type A personality. You need everything to be just the way that it's supposed to be. But what is the biggest time consumer for a lot of business owners too is making sure everything is perfect. And so when I'm having a rough day and I'm like, I have so much to do and I don't know if I'm going to get it all done, and I still want to have that quality to it, but I have to remind myself it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be quality, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to get done. And that's at the end of the day, if that's all I can muster out, then okay. But I'm still going to make sure that it's quality, but perfection is unachievable.
That reminds me of something that my dad used to say, and this isn't derogatory because he was a Marine, but he would say when we were building a fence one time, I've never heard, he said, close enough for government work, move on. Always trying to make it perfect. He's like, close enough for government work, move on.
Yeah, exactly.
I think when I'm having one of those days, I just, you just like, okay, I can do this. Let me take a deep breath and move forward. And as far as do what I can do and try to give a best effort if I can do so. But one thing that sticks in my head that I love the quote that I just recently got from, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tabitha Brown.
Mm-hmm.
She has a vegan restaurant. She's quite sincere. She's awesome. And she says, have yourself a good day, even if you can't have a good day. Don't you dare go messing up nobody else's day. And I think that is so true, because even if you having a terrible day, don't spread that to the next person. Don't bring that negative energy to the next person. So I try to keep that in the back of my head, even though sometimes I'm in a restaurant and it's just like nothing is going right. This person is coming here. This might bring them just a little bit of joy having a curry chicken meal. You know what I mean? So just to be able to give them that peace and not have an attitude and put my negative energy on them. That's what I have to keep that in the back of my head.
Curry chicken sounds really good. Right?
Curry chicken is good. You gotta try it.
Sounds good right now.
What was that quote again? Nah, it ain't verbatim. I got the t-shirt. No. Have yourself a good day. Even if you can't have a good day, don't you dare go messing up nobody else's day. But look it up. She has it all plastered. She has t-shirts and everything with it. And she says it at the end of every time she does like a segment.
And that was Tabitha Brown.
Tabitha Brown.
For me, I remember last time I was talking to you and you were having a rough day with employees, and I'm like, just take a deep breath. You got this, So just for as a business owner, you have to get the work done, right? And so for us, at the end of just get the work done, and next day will be a new day for us. So that's how we get it done. So today, I was a dispatcher, I was a driver, and I was trying to sell a vehicle. So like I had so many. It's always changing every hour, and then I had to come and get ready for this, and I'm like, and right before that, I did my prayers, and that calmed me down, and then I was here. So just taking a deep breath and starting a whole new next day.
And having someone you can vent to.
Yeah.
Like Nazarene was saying last week, I was really having it was a tough day. And I was just like, Nas, give me a word of encouragement.
I'll bring my kids.
I was like, no, I don't need you to help. I just need you to talk me down. You know what I mean? And she having that support system where you can call on somebody, and somebody that you can entrust to call them, because you can't call everybody with your
understands as well.
Understands what you're going through, because
this lady today, she drove up from Syracuse to purchase a vehicle from us, and every 5 minutes she was like answering the phone, but I understood because that's what I do as a dispatcher. That's what I had to do earlier this morning. And she goes, it's nice that you guys understand. I'm like, don't worry. Like our children, when the phone rings, we have to act like we're in the office. They know to be quiet. So, and they've been trained, to do that as well, But, just, I guess having that support, is
and
nice.
we're saying like someone that you can entrust with telling it, and that's not going to use your negative experience 2 weeks later. Like, remember when this was this and that? You should have gave up then. You know what I mean? Someone that's going to encourage you and build you up and say, okay, let's move forward. Tomorrow's a new day. You can do this. Let's just get to tomorrow. Yeah.
So what I was going to say, that's a great point. My best friends are entrepreneurs. So one of them, we can talk about everything, we can cry together, we understand the business. If you have friends and family who doesn't understand it, they will judge you, they don't want to hear about it.
Exactly.
When you're excited about something, they're like, oh.
Again?
Something you're really happy about, and they come from. It's just different. So to be around like-minded people,
Exactly.
who experience the same things that you go through, it's
It
I mean,
definitely
we know in
is.
business, sometimes we get paid on time, sometimes we don't. I mean, we have so many unforeseen things that take place and we don't like to talk about it because we're business owners, right?
Yeah.
When we have those friends who are going through the same things, it's really important. You can lift each other up, especially as women.
And encourage you to say, you know what, I just went through this last week.
Yes.
Maybe you can do it this way. And you're like, okay, I didn't think about doing it or handling this situation that way.
And
So it
just
is.
sharing those resources.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you all for coming, and let's give our panelists a big round of applause.